Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Good morning and happy Monday, people. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, if I am being honest about this intro, it is maybe the 8th time I've had to record it. And now I'm just laughing because I think if I don't laugh, I will seriously cry. I mean, this morning has been like the shit shows of getting an intro recorded between I don't even know what you're able to hear in the background. I've stopped this and replayed it back. There are dishes clanking right now. The dogs won't stop barking. Someone is mowing their lawn outside. It is like, I apologize. I don't think I can redo this again for the 9th time, seriously. So whatever is happening in the background, we're just going to have to get creative and roll with it because it's just one of those days. I hope that you had an amazing 4th of July weekend if you celebrated, and that you're happy, healthy, and safe, and that if you had to go back to work this Monday morning, that your Monday is going better than mine right now. It's a good day, but gosh, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need a sound booth. Okay, I'm going to start off by reading one of the reviews because I love doing this at the start of each podcast. And again, you guys, it's such a quick and easy way to help keep me up in the ratings so that other people can find me. We're doing a really good job right now, and there are a lot of listeners all over the world, and I so appreciate the milestones we're hitting on the podcast because you share and you tell your friends about it and you leave reviews where you can. Tag me in your stories, tag me in your Facebook stuff. It really does mean a lot. So this review is by AH Dog, and the title is very relatable. Everything on Macy's podcast is relatable and easy listening. I feel like she is personally reaching out to me with her education and tricks to better my thoughts and actions. I find myself often shaking my head in agreement and saying, yep, I am guilty of that. Then realizing how easy it is to change those bad habits. A great podcast. Thank you so much for that review. It always makes me feel good to read these and see how the content is actually helping you. I also love you guys when you reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook and you introduce yourself as someone who happened to find the podcast and it's helped you in some way. When you all share those stories with me, it just lights me up and I really do appreciate it. So you guys, I have to tell you, I'm so excited. There's so many things happening in life, but one of the things I'm super excited about is I'm getting ready to start certification to be certified as a coach with the Life Coach School with Brooke Castillo. So I don't know if any of my listeners are fans of the Life Coach School podcast with Brooke, but I've been a fan of hers for many years. And actually my coach that has coached me for the last 5 years at different points, she was certified with Brooke at the Life Coach School, and then she went on to do Master Coach certification, and her skills are just incredible, and I've been a byproduct of that being her client, and anything that can help me become even better in this craft of helping hold the space for you guys and seeing things that maybe you all don't see, finding your blind spots, like anything that can help me become more of a master of that is something that I want to do. So I'm really excited to be getting ready to start certification and learn some of Brooke's, methods and the ways that she teaches and the way that she helps, find those sneaky thoughts that sometimes slip through. And then I'll also be getting certified in emotional intelligence and the ability to administer basically like an assessment that my one-on-one clients will get to take, and they'll be able to see exactly how they're scoring and where they're at from an emotional intelligence standpoint, how it shows up in their work life, how it shows up in their personal life. And then what's cool about that is it's data to show just how much they grow with coaching, because they will get to take it again, right, 6 months or 12 months later, and really get to see their overall growth in that area. So I'm just really excited for everything going down the pipeline that's going to help me become even better for you guys. So admittingly, I had just recorded like 10 minutes worth of content, and I crap you not, you guys, that now the iRobot vacuum is going and is extremely loud. The dogs are barking. I cannot make today up. I cannot make it up. I just can't. So I deleted 10 minutes worth of content and was like, I'm changing today's topic. I'm changing it to resiliency, progress over perfection, what to do whenever you feel like you're going to explode, like how to manage your mind during intense situations. Like I've just been like, what am I going to talk to them about today? Because seriously, this has been a whole cluster and I just cannot even. Seriously. Okay, so seriously though, let's just change it up. We're changing up today's original topic, and we're going to talk about really just commitment. That's what it comes down to. Committing to an end result. Right now, I am committing to getting this podcast out, even though it is probably not my best work because there's a lot of background noise, which you may or may not be able to hear. I'm having trouble managing my mind today because I'm a human being. And let's talk about that as well. You can do all the growth in the world, right? And work on yourself. You're still going to experience emotions and you're still going to have negative emotions. And I would be lying if I said right now I am teetering the line between laughing this off and also feeling extremely frustrated because I just want this podcast to be finished. I have a client call coming up soon, and really I can take full responsibility in this moment and honor the fact that I could have, right, be real with myself, that I could have recorded it last week or, days ago where it was quiet and no one was home and I wouldn't be in this predicament. But I did not do that, and I waited, and now I'm in a situation where this house is loud AF and I'm like, are we joking right now? But this is where commitment really matters, is the commitment that you're making to yourself, the commitment you're making to other people, and honestly, integrity and following your word as law. It's something that I learned in coaching early on. Integrity is really following your word as law, meaning that if it were a law that you said, here's what I'm going to do, and then you didn't do it, there would be consequences, just as if you're driving without a seatbelt or you're, running a red light or whatever it is. I'm sure you can hear the dogs right now. I mean, with each bark, I feel my blood pressure rising. I'm like, why are they in this mood today? But that's really what integrity is it's the commitment and honoring your word as law. And so what my commitment is to be able to release content for you guys every Monday. Now, there are occasional Mondays where I have not. I think maybe in almost 2 years of doing the podcast, there's been maybe 3 Mondays or 4 Mondays where I haven't. But other than that, it's a commitment for me to make sure that I'm getting something out that's going to help you think of things differently and better your mind. But with that being said, all of us are still human. So I've had 17 years of therapy, and I've spent probably over 20 grand in life coaching myself, just personally. And so a lot of times people will ask me, like, how are you so mellow? Or how are you so calm? Or how do you not let things get to you? And I'm like, I've put in the time and I've put in the work. And that's why I feel very confident in being able to help my clients. I can see a lot of things that maybe other people can't because they have current blind spots. And I have 17 years of therapy that helped me become self-aware and be in my body. And then I have, had 5 years and almost $20,000 worth of coaching that has allowed me to be very in my body and in my awareness. So in this moment right now, I know that I am getting flustered. I know that I am feeling an amount of annoyance, and I know that it could create a result that I want to give up, that I don't want to do this podcast, that I'm ready to end it. Can you hear this happening? I'm sure you can. There's no way you can't. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I seriously think this is the most times I have paused a podcast, and I paused it, and then literally 10 seconds later, my grandma came in and let me know that my dog just attacked a snake, a black snake, and that's why he's barking right now, because he wants to go back out to attack the snake. I am just beside myself. So let's use this podcast episode as a lesson. There's circumstances, okay? It's so funny because I'm getting ready to start the Life Coach School certification, and Brooke Castillo teaches what is called the model. So if you're a current client of mine, or you've been a client in the past, or you've done a free program, there's this model I teach where it's written out as CTFAR. And this is a CTFAR situation. I need to do a model on this myself. But our C is our circumstance, and our circumstance is always neutral. So this is a circumstance of trying to record a podcast with a lot of interruptions, right? Or trying to record a podcast with noise. And it's very neutral. There are people that could be in this exact situation and be totally fine, and it's not a problem. They'll just keep on with the podcast. And then there are people like me in this moment specifically where it's really, I'm having a lot of thoughts. So our circumstance, right, is what kind of creates our thought process. And in this moment, my thought process is, this is very disruptive. This is not going to be a good podcast episode. This is bothering me. Why are they so loud? Which really just, when you ask a question with a thought, it really just means they are so loud. I'm believing that it's an annoyance that everything in this household right now is loud, and our thoughts create our feelings. And so because I'm thinking all of those thoughts, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling annoyed, I'm feeling baffled. I'm feeling a lot of negative emotion right now, and I cannot lie about it. So our feelings are then what trigger the action that we take or do not take. And my action has been stop the podcast, pause, try to wait for it to be quiet, restart it, erase it, try to re-record over it, erase that, re-record over that, which is giving me the result of we're still going strong with the podcast, but it's certainly not my best episode, right? It's a good teaching moment. I'm going to keep this episode because it's a good teaching moment to actually show you a real life example of me working through a circumstance that is currently beyond my control and how I am processing it. So when you have this model that you're running by, there's always an opportunity to shift it, because typically the first model that we feel, which is what I'm feeling right now, is unintentional. It's just where my brain goes. I hear the noise, which is a circumstance. I think this is really annoying. Then I feel annoyed, and then my action is to stop and go and stop and go. And it's giving me the result of, one, I'm not feeling my best, right? But I'm still recording the podcast because that's a choice. If I didn't have personal development, I would probably quit. That would probably be the result. Quit, give up on the podcast episode, and just tell you guys I'll see you next Monday. Because that would be the easiest thing. But because I am committed, and because I have personal development and have been coached and know how to run my own models, I'm like, let's just put it out there so that people can see I'm a real life human. I have models as well. I have moments where I am not feeling my best. And, when I'm wanting to put out bomb content that is really freaking awesome and there are things happening in the background, it feels very hard to manage my mind. So that's what I'm experiencing now. But you can change that around even if the circumstance doesn't change. So like right now, I still hear a ton of noise. You maybe don't. And I get to choose a different thought. So I can choose the thought, this can still be a very valuable podcast. When I'm thinking the thought, this can still be a very valuable podcast, I feel relieved, And then the action is to keep recording just as I am now. And then the result is that you all are going to get an episode. Because the other model, my unintentional model, makes me want to quit and just say, you guys, I'll see you next Monday because I just can't even. It's too much of a shit show. But because I have this awareness, I can say, you know what? The circumstance is not changing, but I can think about it differently. And that is what your work is, okay? And that's what a lot of times I'm helping clients through, is helping them see how they have the ability to think about things differently. And when you think about things differently, you gain your power back, because sometimes your circumstances are not going to change. I used to want certain people in my family to change in order to feel better. I would have the thought, they're not the best so-and-so for me, right? And then that would make me feel like sad or just defeated or upset. And then that would, create in me an action of like self-sulking and self-sabotaging and woe is me behavior. And then the result is that nothing really changes. I'm not getting what I'm wanting because, I'm thinking the thought like, this person is not the best person for me, and if they would change, my life would be easier, and if only this, if only that, then my life would be better. And those thoughts were not serving me. So through a lot of coaching, I learned that when your thoughts are creating your feelings are creating your actions are creating your results. If I want a different result, if I want to feel differently, I have to think differently. And so that really began the work that this podcast is all about, and why I constantly in every episode try to bring you back to that, because that's really the core, is that your thoughts are always creating your result. It's never your circumstance. It's not the noise that's actually creating the result. It's my thought about it. And that's the truth. Like, the noise is there. It's still there right now. I can still hear it. But I'm taking my brain from the thought, this is really annoying. This episode will totally suck. Nobody's going to get value from it. Which would then, if I keep following that model, it would make me want to quit the podcast. So then you don't get an episode. So I'm not serving someone, right? It has a trickle effect. Every thought you have leads to a feeling, leads to an action, leads to a result. And you create a ripple from your thoughts. And that ripple is that somebody probably needs this episode this Monday. And so if I'm in my head thinking this episode's not going to serve anyone, and it's not beneficial, and it's annoying, and it's not helpful, then I'm really missing the opportunity to show someone in real time how their thoughts can really create the reality. So right now I'm choosing the thought, this episode can still serve someone, even though I've had to delete things, pause things, even though you can probably hear background noise. You might think this is unorganized or not her best episode, but there's somebody who probably needs to hear that, hey, Macy's human too. Even after 17 years of therapy, counseling, psychology, psychiatry, all of the mental health services that I could get for childhood trauma. And then also $20,000 spent in hiring coaches to help me become my highest self. It's a process. It's not an end game. I'm not a perfect human being. I still feel negative emotion. I still have to manage my mind. I still have to work through things. I have this, idea in my head of how I want things to be. And then when circumstances are going down that aren't matching how I imagine it in my head, I still sometimes will freak out a bit because I'm a human being. So I want to encourage you to think about how your thoughts are what create your results. It's not the circumstance. I'm still dealing with the same circumstance that I have been since the beginning of this episode. My thought shifted from this is going to be horrible and I should just delete it and this is annoying to this episode can still help someone. And because I am able to shift to the thought this episode can still help someone, it makes me feel better about continuing to talk on this podcast. It's making me release the podcast, and as a result, somebody's going to hear in real time how I've had to manage my own mind and do the very work that I teach you on this podcast. So that really is the difference. That's how you can turn a day around. You get to choose. It's your choice at any given moment. It's your decision. And it's also okay to know that sometimes we like our first model. Like I could have chose to continue, being mopey and frustrated and annoyed and quit the podcast, and I could have let that ruin my day, and that could have been okay. I could have done that. But I have to think of the result I ultimately want. The result I ultimately want is for you to get content, for you to be inspired, for me to feel accomplished, and quitting, right, is not going to create that result. So my self-awareness of what am I thinking in this moment? Okay, right now I'm thinking pretty shitty thoughts that are making me want to quit. How am I going to turn this around so that I get the result that I want? The result that I want is to inspire and be an example of what's possible to all of the listeners on this podcast. So what do I need to think in order to create that result? I need to think this episode is going to help one person in the world. It's going to help one person in the world. And that's enough to keep going. That is today's message. I'm going to get off here because it kind of got quiet, which is so interesting. That's very nice. I wish that it would have happened sooner, but that's okay. We persevered, and that's what life is about. Sometimes it's as simple as changing your thoughts, and literally your entire moment, day, experience can turn around. Okay? If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out. If you need some one-on-one coaching, feel free to reach out. If you have never introduced yourself to me and you're a listener, I don't care where you are in the world. If you have Instagram or Facebook, reach out, say hello. I love getting to know the listeners of the podcast and making that connection, hearing how you found me. It's always so fun. And I hope you have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.